I didn't provide the code my boss needs after they fired me. So here's the thing about my old job. I worked at this small software company for like 3 years, building their entire customer database system from scratch. It wasn't glamorous work, but I was good at it. My boss Kevin treated me like garbage the whole time though. He'd make me stay late without overtime, yell at me in front of other people, and basically acted like I was his personal coding slave. The final straw was when Kevin hired his nephew Brett to be my supervisor, even though the kid had never written a line of code in his life. Brett would come in hungover every day, play games on his phone, and then take credit for all my work in meetings. I complained to Kevin about it, and he told me I needed to be a team player and stop causing drama. Last month, Kevin called me into his office and said they were restructuring the company, which basically meant they were firing me but keeping Brett because he was family. Kevin handed me this pathetic severance check that barely covered 2 weeks of rent and said I had until the end of the day to clean out my desk. Here's where it gets interesting. The entire customer system I built was held together by this really complicated piece of code that only I knew how to maintain. It wasn't documented anywhere because Kevin always said documentation was a waste of time. The whole thing was basically a house of cards that needed constant tweaking to keep running. I packed up my stuff and left without saying a word. 3 days later, Kevin starts calling me non-stop. The system crashed and nobody could figure out how to fix it. Their biggest client was threatening to leave because they couldn't access their data. Brett was apparently having panic attacks because he had no idea what any of the code even did. Kevin left me like 15 voicemails begging me to come back and fix everything. He offered me double my old salary, promised to fire Brett, said he'd give me my own office. When I didn't respond to any of that, he started getting nasty, called me unprofessional and threatened to sue me for sabotage, which was hilarious because I literally did nothing except refuse to work for free. Then Kevin's business partner Jake reached out to me. Turns out Jake had no idea Kevin fired me and was furious when he found out. Jake offered me a consulting contract at triple my old hourly rate to fix their system. I told him I'd think about it. But here's the beautiful part. While I was thinking about it, I found out through a friend that Kevin had been telling everyone I was incompetent and that firing me was the best decision he ever made. He was trying to blame the system crash on my sloppy programming instead of admitting he screwed up. So I decided to really make him sweat. I waited 2 more weeks before responding to Jake's offer. By then, they'd lost 3 major clients, and Kevin was apparently having daily meltdowns. The other developers had quit because they couldn't handle the pressure of trying to fix something they didn't understand. When I finally agreed to help, I made Jake sign a contract that said I owned all the code I'd written and that Kevin wasn't allowed to speak to me directly during the project. I also charged them a rush fee on top of my consulting rate because they'd created an emergency situation. It took me exactly 4 hours to fix everything because I knew exactly what was wrong. The whole time I could see Kevin pacing around the office like a caged animal, probably realizing that his ego had just cost the company about $50,000. After I finished the job, Jake pulled me aside and offered me Kevin's job. Apparently the other partners had voted to remove Kevin as CEO because of how badly he'd handled everything. I politely declined because I'd already started freelancing and was making way more money on my own.